First impressions of Lootun, building an 18 character bot farm. Hey guys, my name is Austin. Welcome to my Searching for Games channel. What is Lootun? Basically, Lootun is an ARPG simulator, described on Steam as a semi-idle RPG with a strong focus on character and skill progression, item hunting, and inventory management. Basically, level characters, loot gear, create builds for characters, create teams of characters, run harder and harder content, unlocking more and more progression systems. My first look anticipations. Anticipated gameplay. The gameplay loop, I feel like it will mainly involve setting up your team of characters, then letting them auto farm and loot dungeons until you can progress to more difficult dungeons. I was pretty close here with the gameplay loop, but I really underestimated the amount of time that would be spent building each character. The progression is fast, and upgrading characters' skills and gear has more complexity than I had anticipated. I'm curious how the loot's going to scale and if there will be target farming. Item scaling, loot scales up to level 150, with the rarity ranging from uncommon to mythical and divine. After that, each base item can roll a range of attributes and can also be affected with things like paragon levels, reinforcement levels, nemesis attributes, blessings, and enchants. Target farming, gear and crafting mats can be target farmed. The in-game glossary is a wonderful resource when mapping out a build with links to both the items and the monsters that drop them. I also wonder what currencies there are, what kind of bank and inventory management there will be. So like I showed there are 4 base currencies: gold, rubies, soul orbs, and donation credits. That's pretty basic in terms of progression, but the crafting mats are collected and managed like a currency as well, providing much more variety. So when you start crafting, the currency complexity really opens up. If there is a prestige or meta progression, if this is like Melvor Idol, then there probably won't be any. So just like Melvor Idol, there is no prestige or meta progression system. Difficulty in an idle game, right? But what will the chase goals be? How dependent will it be on RNG? Will different challenges require different equipment setups or teams? The difficulty, overall, things flow smoothly in the beginning. No content is too challenging, and your characters and teams will have a grand old time. Eventually, though, some challenges do occur: mission modifiers, curses, and raid bosses that do encourage optimizing your teams. Overcoming these challenges does feel rewarding as you figure out which characters synergize and which modifiers punish certain builds. How important is efficient decision making? Also, I mentioned RNG there. There is a decent amount of RNG, and it does make finding certain items satisfying. However, up to this moment, most items can be obtained rather quickly once your team is strong enough to do the content, and most RNG can be circumvented with crafting as you unlock more crafting upgrades. There are some RNG grinds, however. Relics have limited crafting potential, and it could take some luck to find the perfect one for your build. Also, mastery focused gems cannot be crafted, at least as far as I can tell, and getting one with your desired skill could take some luck. But even then, the grind doesn't seem to be too heavy. Can weeks of progress be shortened into hours with a good setup? Is the game click intensive? Decision making. Decision making in Lootun is quite important. Some content cannot be cleared unless you have a team that is set up to tackle it. For example, some bosses can be healed, serving as a sort of DPS check, or as seen with my first raid attempt, misunderstanding a mechanic can lead to futile attempts at clearing the content. Click intensive? Lootun is not click intensive. How active is the gameplay? And will there be offline progression, or will the game always have to be on? So active gameplay, it does have quite a bit of active gameplay and micromanagement, especially in the beginning. This is alleviated, however, with a lot of quality of life features that are unlocked as you progress through the game, such as the comparator, the auto scrapper, bag filters, item imprints, gem sockets, build imports and exports, etc. Offline progression. Like some other games in the genre, Lootun allows 24 hours of offline progression. It also includes features like stackable chests and extra storage for things like gems and crafting mats, making overnight progression feel quite satisfying. My first impressions: ARPG and idler is an interesting combo that actually fits together quite nicely. Lootun cuts the grind out of min-maxing a build while still harnessing a satisfying sense of progression. Lootun also capitalizes on the fact that your characters can fight for themselves by letting you build multiple characters at once and setting up multiple teams and then sending them all out simultaneously. I enjoyed stacking a team of my best characters for hard content, while my weaker characters could target farm crafting supplies or other items that I needed. Most of my playing time was spent setting up different builds and teams. As my characters progressed, they unlocked new mechanics, allowing for a lot of optimization potential. With 18 characters, 5 teams, and 3 item loadouts per character, the build possibilities are quite numerous. So, depending on who you unlock, the items you find, and the builds that you go for, each person's playthrough is likely going to be quite unique. Your decisions make a large impact on your teams and your character builds. This variety is something that I was pleasantly surprised with for an idle progression game. Notes: punishing gameplay. If you don't like a build, it can be easily changed without losing very much progress. Class fantasies. The builds, skills, items, classes, and teams are also quite customizable. Using only the in-game glossary, I was able to come up with quite a few builds, like a healing, taunting Templar tank, a dual-wield cleaving lightning crusader, a spellcasting ignite stacking inquisitor, an insane DPS explosive shot assassin, a two-handed snipe marksman, a two-handed slam juggernaut, an arcane explosion vizier, a regen-focused battle mage tank, a bleed barbarian, and many other DPS tanks and supports. Building classes and finding which characters synergize together is what I found to be the most unique part of Lootun. You get to be the leader of a huge crew, setting them up and sending them off. Everyone working together to make the whole team stronger. Progression idle system. Like most idle games and even ARPGs, progression is the name of the game. As you progress and become stronger, you will outscale old content and unlock new, more difficult challenges, moving from normal dungeons to infused bounties to agony dungeons, then focusing on factions and reputation, then raids, endless mode, heroic raids, and so on. As new challenges become available, new mechanics are unlocked. Decisions. You get to make decisions on things like more damage or more survivability, dot or crit builds, physical or elemental builds, single target or multi-target attacks, slow attacks or fast attacks, who gets to use special unique items, what missions to farm, how many warriors you want to have on your teams, etc. The progression loop. The combination of harder, more specific content and stronger, more specialized characters leads to a rewarding sense of progression and a satisfying level of complexity. Monetization. While microtransactions usually plague free-to-play progression games with player-unfriendly tactics like incentivizing spending for things like progressing or rolling for RNG-centric items, Lootun is thankfully a complete game. All the content is locked at a pace that is optimized with the player's best interest in mind. No exploitation tactics, just a smooth progression experience. No battle pass, no premium currency, no drawn-out gameplay to force a subscription, no paywall. I have even seen quite a few comments that say Lootun progresses too quickly. You'll have full bags and multiple characters within minutes of starting up your first game. Idle or active. You can spend all of your time checking out every piece of loot, or just setting up a very strict loot filter and coming back in a few days to tons of materials and items. Both types of progression are done well enough to feel satisfying. The game feels truly both idle and active, filling its semi-idle tag surprisingly well. If you're not a fan of progression systems, crafting, looting, or team and character building, I suggest looking elsewhere. Lootun is likely not the game for you. But if you're looking for a game that lets you test out multiple ARPG styled builds in different team comps against a variety of progressively more difficult content and challenges, then I believe you might have fun giving Lootun a chance. You can see how far you can get with a single warrior or command a whole crew of 18 characters, min-maxing everyone to find the strongest team comp. Thank you for watching my first impressions video on Lootun. I appreciate it. Take it easy. Bye.